Wake that ass up
early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the line, Desmond Meade. Welcome, brother.
Yo, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing this morning?
How you
I'm
doing,
blessed,
man?
black,
Pretty
and
good,
highly
brother.
favored. I'm glad you called Desmond because, Desmond is the president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. And, a few weeks ago, a while ago, actually, we had JT from the City Girls on, and she wants to be able to vote, but she's a felon. And it just so happened she tweeted last night, as a felon, I feel our vote should still count. I mean, I do still live here in America and pay taxes as well. Desmond, help a sister out.
Well, first of all, before you help the sister out, explain what you do, Desmond. For the people that don't know, explain
I just said it.
No, explain what the coalition does and how we got there.
Yeah, so first of all, Florida Rights Restoration Coalition is a coalition that's made up of people with felony convictions, right? People like me. And what we focus on are issues that impact people with felony convictions. So ending the discrimination around voting, around housing, around employment, and really just trying to shift the narrative, because so many times people put that felon next to your name and it kind of like try to dehumanize you, right? But we somebody's son, daughter, mother, father, cousin, nephew that may have made a mistake, right? But we paid our price and we ought to be able to integrate back into our community and be a part of our society. And that's what we fight for. We're a statewide organization with over 20 chapters and about 7,000 members throughout the state of Florida. And so we're just building power and making sure that the voices of people with felony convictions are heard.
So what would you tell JT from the City Girls?
I'll tell her, hit us up. Hit Florida Rights Restoration Coalition up. I mean, just the other week, Michael Vick did the same thing. He hit us up, and Michael Vick now is a registered voter in Florida, right? And it's real simple. Just they could hit us, they could dial or text fines to the number 82623, right? They can call our 1-877 number, 1-877 My Vote Zero. And I'm gonna tell y'all what we've been doing over the past year is that we've been raising money, all right? Because of the legislation that's out in the court case, some of us have to pay outstanding fines and fees before we're able to register to vote. Man, we've raised over $20 million, man. I'm gonna tell you, we've been popping bans to let people vote, right? And so we've been putting the word out there. If there's people that have those restrictions, they can hit us up. A lot of people think they have it, but don't have nothing, because at the end of the day, we got about 774,000 people who do have to pay fines and fees, but that leaves 500,000 to 600,000 returning citizens in Florida that can register to vote right now today. And 2020 is our year. At the end of the day, we've been silenced for over 150 years. People always look down on people with felony convictions. They take away our voice. But because of Amendment 4, we got our voice back. And I do believe, y'all, that the streets is the one that's going to save our democracy. And we got to get the streets to the poll. So Pookie, Ray, Shaniqua, they need to hit us up and see if they even have to pay any fines and fees. And they may not have to. Let's get them registered to vote before October 5th deadline.
Now, what happened with Michael Vick? Because you said Michael Vick called you and you had to register him. So I'm sure Michael Vick wasn't for fines. So what happened with Michael Vick, and how did you get him back registered so he could vote?
Yeah, so, in Florida, once you're convicted of a felony offense, no matter what it is, right, that you lose, before Amendment 4, you lost the right to vote for life. But because Amendment 4 was passed, now people with a felony conviction, once they complete their sentence, they have the right to vote. You see, but we got this like Juneteenth phenomenon. You know how with Juneteenth, the slaves in Galveston didn't find out that they were free until 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. Well, ironically, here we are coming up on the 2nd year anniversary of passing Amendment 4, and there's a lot of returning citizens that don't even know they're free. Even in other states where people can vote, right, there are people with felony convictions walk around thinking that they can. And so what Michael Vick did, Michael Vick wanted to make sure that he was straight because he wanted to register to vote. I mean, he got it on his Twitter now, talking about how important it is to him and to his family that he voted. And so he called the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. And I personally linked up with him. We went through some questionnaires and found out, okay, he served his time. He don't owe any money. bro, you can register right now. And that's exactly what he did. And so now
And
he's a registered voter and his voice going to be heard.
Now, what's the difference? Because, some felons can't vote and they're saying some felons can vote. How do you know the difference if you can vote or you can't vote, depending on your charge or depending on what you were charged with? How does that work?
Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is hit up Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. We got a team of people over a year now that's been put together, and that's all they do is work with people who trying to figure that out. And we have like over 40 pro bono attorneys that's on standby to help people out. At the end of the day, Amendment 4 helped everybody with the exception of people who committed murder or people who were convicted of a felony sexual offense. If you were not convicted of either one of those, you are eligible to register to vote under Amendment 4, right? Now, the extra restriction there is if you have outstanding fines and fees, then you have to satisfy those fines and fees before you're able to register to vote. But if you know you did your time and you paid whatever fine you had to pay and you don't owe nothing, man, you need to register right now.
How does paying those fines and fees help them better adjust to life at home?
What it does, to be perfectly honest with you, is paying these fines and fees, number one, remove that obstacle. So if people want to be able to register to vote, they can. Number two, a lot of these folks, because of outstanding fines and fees, got their driver's license suspended, right? And so if you don't have a driver's license, it's even more difficult for you to get a job, right? And provide for your family. And then at the end of the day, nobody should be forced to choose between putting food on the dinner table or voting. You shouldn't be forced to choose between paying rent or mortgage or voting. And so we remove that. But in addition to that, there's an added benefit because we're actually, in a sense, stimulating the economy. At the end of the day, we're stimulating the economy because a lot of these court systems are facing budgetary crisis. Right now, you got all of the clerk of courts collectively, I think, have a $60 million shortfall, right? And so we're paying into the victim compensation fund. We're paying into the teen court, all of those funds that the court would not have otherwise collected because you can't get blood from a rock, right? And so you can go ahead and put these fees on people, but if they can't afford to pay it, then you don't even have a chance of collecting it. But what we're doing right now is creating a win-win situation. We're removing these obstacles so people can move on with their lives. If those who have their driver's license suspended can get those reinstated, get better jobs, take better care of their family, and really enjoy life the way they should, like every American citizen should.
Has there been a significant difference in voting outcomes in Florida now that people with past felony convictions can vote?
I mean, I would think so. We see in Broward County, because voting, let me tell you, voting is local, right? Now, you could be thinking about presidential, but at the end of the day, the things that impact us, let's stop for a minute. You go back to Ahmaud Arbery when a prosecutor didn't even want to press charges for over 70 days. Prosecutors are elected, right? So who decide whether or not you get charged? You can elect them. Then you go to George Floyd, where you got a police officer putting his knee on the brother's neck for 8 minutes, 46 seconds. He had to answer to a chief. Those people, the sheriffs, they're all elected. Judges who stand in judgment over you, they are elected officials. And so for once, we, the people who have experienced the brunt of institutionalized racism, the people who have experienced the brunt of an injustice criminal system, right, now have an opportunity to decide the direction that their community, that their county, that their state, that their country can go, because we got the juice. We actually got the power, but that power don't show up unless we show up at the polls. And we can't show up at the polls unless we get registered to vote. But everything that we've cared about all our lives is in our hands to change. And it's evident. We've seen it in Broward County. We elected the first African-American man as a prosecutor in Broward County. We elected the first African-American woman as a prosecutor in Orange County. And then when she left office, we had another sister that was running against someone who said that he didn't believe in the school to prison pipeline, someone that wanted to go back to the old ways of prosecuting, somebody that wanted to be buddy-buddy with the police, and that person was the favorite. That person got endorsed by all of the right names in our community. But the streets came out and took somebody that was 28 points down and propelled them to victory by 14 points. The streets can make a difference. Just the mere fact of Amendment 4 passing. That's another example of what happens when the street comes to the polls. So we can bring justice to our communities, but it won't come if we don't show up at the polls. And that's why we're trying to remove all these obstacles so that people like me with felony convictions who always cried about how the state attorney running the courtroom and how the judge letting them do it and how the police beating us down and then throwing charges on us, like battery on a Leo. Anytime you see that, you know the brother got his butt whooped. And that charge is nothing but to cover the butt whooping that he got. All these years we've been complaining about this. Our time has finally come here in 2020. Our vote, our voice, our time. We can do this.
You know, Desmond, I love what your organization does. I just wonder sometimes, I feel like we put too much of the burden to vote on the streets as opposed to putting the burden on Democrats or whoever to do something for the streets.
Well, we got to show up first, brother. You know, I
think they got to show up for us first.
No, but no, we got to demand that they show up for us. That's the whole key, right? Because at the end of the day, first of all, you know, like I voted for the first time in over 30 years just last month, bro. And when I walked in there, I took the spirits of my ancestors with me. And I'm thinking about all my people that was murdered, right? State-sanctioned violence was burned, hung, bit by dogs, sprayed by fire hoses, just so I can have this opportunity. And you know, when I walked up in there, something dawned on me, my brother, that I was actually walking, right, in a sanctified space, bro. I understood that there was some sanctity in me actually voting, right? And because of that, then I have to demand that I don't care if you got a D or R next to your name, you got to put some respect on my vote. You got to earn it. You don't get it automatically because I'm black. You don't get it automatically because I feel a certain way. You got to work for it. And the problem is that we have not been making people work for our vote, right? And so I'm saying that when we show up, yeah, and that's what FRC does. We don't lean left, we don't lean right. We lean straight forward into the issues that impact people with felony convictions and people who have loved ones that's been impacted by the criminal justice system. You talk to us about that, we can have a conversation. And if you rock with us, we'll rock with you. We don't care nothing about your D's and the R's and the titles. We don't see you. What we see is our people who've been suffering for decades. Been getting beat down for decades. George Floyd, the Ahmaud Arbery, they didn't just happen this year. That's been happening for decades. But people never listened to us because, number one, we didn't vote. We couldn't vote, right? And so we didn't have no juice. We didn't have no leverage. But guess what? We got leverage right now. It's 1.4 million of us in Florida. I don't care who you are. If you want to be a president, you got to win Florida. And when you see races that's decided by less than 600 in 2000, and every year after that, 100,000 votes, then that means anybody that want to win Florida got to come through who? The governor's race decided by 30,000 votes. Man, we got that 100 times over. If you want to get in that governor's mansion from here on out, who you got to come through? You got to come through us. And so now we got the juice to set the table and demand that our issues get addressed. And if it don't, we find somebody who will handle it. We got enough power to do that.
Because I'm watching the presidential debate. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, because you're fighting a good fight and it requires money. How can people donate if they want to donate and help? Because like you said, a lot of people can't vote because they got fines. They can't afford the fines. And you guys are helping paying those fines. How can they donate and help your cause?
Man, if people want to donate, all they got to do is they can text fees, FEES, to the number 82623. That's fees to 82623. Or they can go online and hit us up at FloridaRRC.com. FloridaRRC.com. But DJ Envy, you said something. I got to touch on this. Man, we've got people from Michael Jordan, LeBron James, the Miami Dolphins, right, dropping dollars, the Miami Heat dropping dollars. The Orlando Magic dropping dollars. Levi Strauss dropping dollars. Ariana Grande dropping dollars. John Legend dropping dollars. As a matter of fact, Michael Jordan doubled up and came back the second time to drop a few more stacks on us. And we have over 80,000 people across the country, man, that's dropping dollars on us because they know that no one should have to be forced to choose between paying rent or voting. And so they're freeing the vote, right? And we've got the gamers that's throwing down in a couple weeks that's going to be raising money because this is beyond the election. This is ongoing. We got 774,000 brothers and sisters, right, that have financial barriers, and we are committed to walking with every last one of them every step of the way. And for the 500,000 to 600,000, that's more than enough right now to cause direct havoc, right? Direct havoc. And so we need, like, that's why I'm appreciative of y'all even letting me get on, because Pookie and Ray Ray ain't gonna listen to Lester Holt. They ain't opening up the Wall Street Journal, but they're also gonna be listening to the Breakfast Club. They're gonna be listening to some of our athletes and some of our rap stars, and we can get to Pookie and Ray Ray and understand that even if you don't understand how important your vote is, you've got to understand it must be valuable because so many people are using so many resources to try to stop you from voting, right? And even if you don't understand everything about it, when you talk about G code, when your brother have an issue and he tell you to strap up, let's roll on these folks, you gonna roll. You ain't trying to say, well, I don't see this or I don't see, no, you're gonna roll with your homie. And right now, there's some homies out here that we crying for our brothers to mount up and let's do this thing together. And if we mount up and do this thing together, man, we could bring about change, man. And we've shown it across the country in little races here and there that, man, when we show up and show out, things happen for the better. We had a state attorney a few years ago that made Orange County the #1 county in the state of Florida for channeling our shorties into the criminal justice system. We elected the first African-American woman, and in 2 years, we became the least county in having our shorties go in. So we saving so many of our shorties from getting caught up in the criminal justice system, all because we show up to vote.
We need more of that conversation. And what I mean by that is, like, we do encourage our people to go out there and vote, but we don't really tell them why. And after we get these people elected, we don't tell them how to continue to keep their foot on these folks' necks. And we don't tell these success stories enough. So Pookie and Ray Ray, after 2 years pass or 4 years pass, they looking around and ain't shit changing their hood. They're like, man, why should I go out and vote again?
But that's why we here, bro. That's exactly why. That's our job as grassroots organizations, man. We got some returning citizens in Louisiana that's wrecking shop, in North Carolina that's wrecking shop, in California, Minnesota. Man, we got over 34 states where we got organizations just like this that Pookie and Ray Ray can connect to. And guess what? The celebrities can connect with us. Because one of the problems is that the best people to guide, right, the best people to help shape these policies and engage the people on the ground are the organizations on the ground that's led by people that have been through what these people have been through, right, and have been doing this work day in and day out, man. This is what I think about 24/7, 7 days a week, man. This thing breaks me down, man, and will have me crying, and I ain't ashamed of it because that's the passion that we advocates have. And what we need is people to understand that we're here for them. We're here and we're going to fight and we don't get bullied because guess what? We done seen it all. I done been to prison. I've been homeless. I've been hooked on crack cocaine. I've been standing in front of railroad tracks, getting ready to kill myself. I mean, I done stared death straight in his face, right? And so ain't nothing that none of those other folks can do to scare me away from this work. And there's so many of us like this out in the country. People that's willing, like I told my staff the other day, I'm at peace now because I found something other than my family that I'm willing to die for, y'all. And I'm willing to die to make sure that Pookie and Ray Ray, number one, get the power that they deserve to have. And number two, know that they have that power and can utilize it and teach them how to use it and then sit back and watch the fireworks. And I'm willing to die for that.
My man.
That's what it is.
Desmond.
We appreciate you for checking in, too,
I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, much love, man. Hey, listen, y'all need to holler back at me again, bro, because for real, we're doing great things, man. And I'd love to connect y'all with other organizations in different states that's doing basically the same work, man. They in California right now, they got an amendment on the ballot that's going to let people on parole and probation vote. You know, they're doing, and my brother, I got a brother, Darrell Atkinson, right now in North Carolina, just won a major lawsuit that's going to allow thousands of people to vote. My brother Norris Henderson in Louisiana, they just got through fighting in court. Tens and thousands of people that's going to be able to vote, man. We doing this work, man, and people just need to know more about us.
What's the let my people vote, Desmond? I see you got the shirt on. I see you got the posters in the back. What is that?
That's right. You know, this is, matter of fact, this is part of our ambassador gear, right? So anybody that is helping to raise awareness that people with felony convictions can vote so we can get the word out or help people get pay their fines and fees, this is what it's all about, man. You know, when Moses went to Egypt and talked to Pharaoh, right? He told Pharaoh that God told him to let his people go, right? Well, guess what? We the modern day Moses, man, and we telling all these systems that try to hold people with felony convictions down that, man, no, y'all better let my people vote. And we just gonna take this, man. We gonna take it. We coming hard and direct to people, and we need the streets to know we got your back, but we need y'all to show up. When you show up, man, we gonna bring all kinds of justice back to our community at the end of the day, man.
Hey, let me get your number again too, Desmond, because I want to connect you directly with JT from the City Girls, man. We gotta get JT registered. She a Florida girl.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Most definitely.
All right. Well, it's Desmond Meade. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.